Like no other this state has ever seen, 8 members of a single family executed in their homes in a matter of hours. Local 12's Rich Jaffe broke that story as it was unfolding on April 22nd.
Rich recently sat down with Attorney General Mike DeWine for an exclusive interview about the case and finds it's a brutal investigation that is leaving an indelible mark on everyone it touches.
With the Rhoden family name scrawled on an empty mailbox and small flags commemorating the family members murdered at each of the sites, the hills of rural Pike County still buzz with speculation and fear.
I think it's very, very important to know why and who. That's the big thing. And to know where they come from.
The day the murders were discovered, April 22nd, Pastor Phil Fulton's tiny church became the family sanctuary. It remains a place of comfort for many of them.
Bobby Jo, the daughter who found them, she's still going through a lot. I think it's calmed down somewhat with her too. I think she's dealing with it the best anybody could.
What Bobby Jo Manley found was a crime beyond imagination. First one, then two, family members executed in their beds. Tiny children still alive next to their parents. A call to authorities led to more victims and more murder scenes. A total of 4 locations and eventually 8 victims, all family. All but one shot execution style in the head, ages 16 to 44.
I believe somebody here in Pike County or Adams was an inside track for him. They knew all the ins and the outs, and they give the information they needed, and then they just come in and done the job and left.
While the Pike County Sheriff and his deputies began the investigation, it quickly became a case for the much larger, more sophisticated Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI.
My experience has been when you find a body and you have no witnesses, it can take a long time. Well, in this case, of course, we had 8 bodies, 4 separate locations. So, you know, I'm not really shocked that it's taken a while.
The killers got in and out of each location efficiently, silently, making it past security cameras and even dogs. It was clear to all this was the work of professionals.
Because you have nowhere else to go, you start with the victims, and you start with, you know, trying to understand their lives, trying to understand, you know, who they've been in contact with, who their friends are, who they work with.
In the days that followed, the investigation uncovered evidence of cockfighting and drugs on some of the murder scenes.
There was no doubt over the drugs.
Is this primarily a dope case?
We do know that the father, you know, had a commercial marijuana operation. But I'm not going to speculate or talk about whether I think that, you know, this was the prime motivator for the murders.
While DeWine and his investigators still have a long way to go, they remain confident they will solve this complex case.
One thing I will say is that we know a lot more about Pike County, what was going on in Pike County, than we did when we began.
Coming up, the Attorney General explains why he's so confident, and you'll hear about the special help the country preacher's looking for to try and solve the case.
Investigation into the execution-style murders of 8 Pike County family members continues. Both the community and investigators are left looking for answers.
As Rich Jaffe's story continues, you will hear why the head of the investigation is so confident he will bring the killers to justice.
The crime is unique in Ohio history. 8 family members, mostly shot in the head execution style, many murdered in their beds. Children below the age of 16 spared by the killers. Many of the surviving members of the Rhoden family have found comfort before and after the murders at the tiny Union Hill Church where Phil Fulton is the pastor.
I prayed this morning, Lord, give the investigators eyes and ears so they can hear and see and get the evidence and make an arrest and bring these people to justice.
Investigators found a commercial marijuana operation at 2 of the murder scenes, and much speculation has centered around a possible hit by a Mexican drug cartel. But 4 months into the investigation, the Attorney General, whose Bureau of Criminal Investigation is running the case, is not ready to say drugs are the motive.
My goal remains the same, and that is the goal that we set the first day, and that is to find who did this, to bring them to justice, and to convict them and to see them go behind bars.
With dozens of investigators from BCI involved, along with every possible Pike County deputy, as well as some from surrounding counties, the massive crime scene investigation was nothing short of daunting. One of the most extraordinary things about this investigation is that as it progressed, the investigators from the Bureau of Criminal Investigation were able to take 4 different crime scenes and actually move them to a single location that was better for them. It was the brainchild of Pike County Sheriff Charles Reeder. Crews jacked up all 4 mobile homes where the victims were killed and moved them to a secure industrial site a few miles away in the town of Waverly, an event that in legal circles was virtually unheard of. Not only did they preserve the crime scenes for investigation, but also for a future jury.
What a prosecutor has to do is tell a story. And so having the jury actually have a frame of reference, to be taken to the place where something occurred, gives them, I think a better understanding.
DeWine says the viciousness of the case has galvanized his team.
We're used to seeing tough stuff. Our investigators are used to seeing bad things. But this is about as bad as it gets. The number of people killed, they're from one family, execution style. It impacts people. It impacts you if you're working on the case.
While the killers may be long gone, investigators believe answers remain in the community and vow they will find them.
There's great determination. There's a great passion about this, to figure out who did it and to bring them to justice.
In Pike County, Rich Jaffe, Local 12 News.
Attorney General DeWine continues to ask if anyone has information on the murders, second or even third hand, call the Attorney General hotline number. It's 1-855-BCI-OHIO. That's 1-855-224-6446.